my second episode. I'm here with Robert Kin, who's the founder of Superior Home Inspectors. So my question for you today, and thank you for your time and your cooperation with me as well.
Thanks for having me, Iris.
I'm going to ask you, for a first-time home buyer, what's your 5 top tips?
Okay, I mean, as a home inspector, we've got a lot of tips, but I guess if you are looking at a house for the first time, right, some of the things that you can help you decide, or at least you need to look at and fix up, is just looking at the outside. So if we have a lot of trees or plants that are too close to the house or touching the house, what that means is that moisture can transfer over to the actual exterior walls. And what could happen is that those materials could deteriorate. So we always recommend that you prune down your plants and trees, and this will prevent a lot of the moisture transfer.
What's your tip number 2?
Well, actually, number 2, let's talk about the crack. You just mentioned about you see an actual crack. Well, anytime you see any cracks or gaps in your below the brick line, right, or below the stone line, or let's say within the brick and mortar, so the mortar portion, we always recommend that you fill these up, right? You fill them up with concrete, with mortar, because if water were to get into those areas, what happens is that it can deteriorate the surrounding materials, which means that there's a potential for water to get inside the house. So sometimes when you walk around most houses, you have to look very closely. You'll see that these hairline cracks, these vertical cracks that happen below the stone or brick lines. Well, there's always a potential for water to get in there. And then who knows, it might get into your house. I mean, we've been able to see it from time to time. But if you go ahead and close it up, then water can't get in there. Then at least you're helping maintain your house further.
Okay, well, let's talk about windows too.
Sure. Well, with windows themselves, typically they last between 30 to 35 years. If you have a builder's window, yeah, it might get there, right? But I mean, I've seen changes always happen prior to the 30, 35 year. What I would always suggest, though, is that you caulk on both sides of the window. And that will help reduce a lot of the heat loss or any possible moisture that can get in. So again, the whole thing about the outside exterior walls, if there's any cracks or gaps, the same thing applies to the window areas. You make sure that they're caulked and sealed, right? To cover those gaps, the water can't get in there. The air from the outside can't get inside, then you're actually preserving the inside and also the outside as well.
Like the attic, in terms of insulation, what did he need to do?
Great question. Right. So over the course of time, the standards, they change, right? Yeah. Even when it comes to insulation in a house and R values and et cetera, the thing is that in every municipality, there's a lot of changes. But what I can tell you this, are houses that are 100 years of age, you likely have like a cellulose-based insulation. It's kind of like, it looks like dirt, right? And the thing is, though, is that in these areas, they're so old, they usually don't put enough insulation. So over the course of time, they always say you have to have X amount of inches worth of insulation, right? And back then, they had very little. So what I would suggest is that you'd have that changed or at least added to. Now, keep in mind, though, with older houses, there's always a potential for having vermiculite. And that's a type of asbestos-based insulation. That stuff is very, very hazardous. It's considered the most friable of all states, meaning that if you were in there and you're disturbing it and all the dust gets in the air, you could breathe that in, and that could be very harmful for your system, especially your lungs. What we suggest you to do, instead of spending money on testing, just take that money towards disposable and just get rid of it all and then put new insulation in there.
Perfect. That sounds good. So the washrooms, I noticed, some of them don't really have the fan and it's not properly insulated.
Oh, yeah. Right. So absolutely. Well, old houses, typically that are 100 years of age, all over the Toronto GT area, they likely don't have insulation, right? It's very, very little, if anything at all. And it's the way they were built, right? A lot of the new houses will have brick and then we'll have the wood framing behind it. In older houses, you actually have like brick and then you might have a third level of brick, right? They didn't have ventilation back then. They didn't really aware of it. A lot of times they would just use a window. And in fact, the window is actually the best ventilation point because air coming in,
Yeah.
right, will flush everything out very quickly, especially on a winter day when the if there's any moisture inside your bathroom, it dries out very quickly. Outside is always dry in the winter, right? So the bathroom would just flush out, all the moisture would just dry out very quickly. The thing is, over time, is that people realize you don't really open up windows in the winter. So whoever invented that is very, very wealthy. Decide, you should have a bathroom vent. And with old houses,
Yeah.
if you don't have it, you should think about having it installed because it's really not that expensive and it's a great investment for you.
Okay. So you have answered at least top five. I believe that's top five already, right?
I believe so. There
Yeah,
might
top
be
five.
maybe one or more. Who knows? But
Yeah. Anyways, for me, I'm again, the realtor in Toronto, right? And if a person's thinking of buying a home, I would always tell them, if you want to work with a realtor, do your research first. Look for a realtor that you can trust, or look for someone that you know that have already worked with a realtor that they can refer you to, so you feel more comfortable. That's number one that I would suggest to a buyer. Number two, I would suggest for them before they can even start looking for a home, they would need to do a pre-approval right now. That's what I would suggest. Third thing I would suggest as well is to look for a lawyer that they can work with when it comes to closing the deal. And fourth, work with someone like you, a home inspector, and a contractor that can understand the framing as well. So I want to ask you, Robert, do you do free consultation for buyers or anything like that?
well, what I can tell you is that I can always go ahead and provide a preamble and explain
Okay.
to you what an inspector should look at within a home, right? So if you're a first-time buyer and you don't know much about a home, these are the kind of things that, like the tips I provided earlier,
Yeah.
there's many more things that we go ahead and identify to you. Sometimes we understand that the market, I mean, not right now because of the COVID, but you never know. Toronto markets are very hot in certain places, right? So sometimes you might have to forego the home inspection because of conditions. I would always suggest that if you see a house and you have a great desire for that, that's your dream home.
Yeah.
Absolutely, put your 2 feet forward and look towards do what you need to get that house. But afterwards, after getting the house, it's always a good idea to have a home inspection done. At least you can go ahead and a home inspector can identify all the major items and also all of the maintenance items that you can deal with. And then after you take care of that list of all these items, right? Then at least you know that the house is well maintained. That's what I would say to that. I'd
Yeah.
also like to add too that I've known Eris, I've known you for close to the 8 years, I think, right? And I've seen you deal with your clients, and I know that you're very exceptional with them. And what
Thank
I
you.
mean by that is that you do ask the right questions, and you do, whenever there are questions that are being asked by your clients, you do answer that. If you don't have an answer, you will find out what the answer is,
Well, I have to
right?
talk to someone like you, right? You're the expert. So,
Uh, well, no, I mean, I can tell you that, for as long as I've been doing this, I've been seeing a lot of realtors out there, and I can
yes.
see that you really do care for your
Oh,
clients.
you have to care for your clients, right? And I know you do too. That's why, and you do such an excellent job for my clients as well.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna share with the audience here your website, and I
Okay.
share my website as well. So they can call you any, I guess, for free consultation.
And just to let you know, my name is Robert Kin. I'm the founder of Superior Home Inspectors. We are home and mold inspectors, and you can go ahead and even book online if you wanted to, and book for our time. So, or you can just give us a call or send an email, and you can send an email at rkin@superiorhomeinspectors.ca. And for those that want to call me, you can see the number above there. It's 416-528-1443.
Yeah. So thank you, Robert King. Actually, let me show my website as well. If anyone is looking for a realtor that expert in the GTA area, who is a full-time realtor, you're welcome to call me as well at 416-669-0011, and you are also welcome to message me as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me.